Well, folks, in today's video, I'm going to be doing a little bit of maintenance on this locomotive. This is an old Southern Pacific Athearn locomotive. I picked this thing up at my local hobby shop for, I think it was 25 or 30 bucks, which I thought was a pretty good deal for it. But it's obviously a pretty old locomotive, I can tell, because it's got the old steel wheels. Modern ones, I think, have nickel-silver wheels. I could be mistaken on that. But anyways, we're going to take it apart and just make it run a little bit better. It does run pretty well, but we can make it even better. Most of these Athearns are quite easy to take apart. As you can see, we've got two dots right there, so that we know that that's one of the spots. There we go. And here we are inside. Got quite an old motor, 5-pole motor. Quite nice. Yeah, it's all in pretty good condition. The first thing we're going to get to working on is the motor. So I'm going to show you guys a strategy. I'm not sure what effect this has over a long period of time, but I find it's quite helpful. And that strategy is basically to put a little bit of alcohol on the commutator while it turns, and what this does is it, in my experience, cleans it up. So we're going to connect this up. That's ground. Clearly not a good enough one. Oh, that will work. So there's it running right now. What we're going to do is I've got this bottle, it's got alcohol in it, and we're going to put 3 drops on the commutator. And watch this. Not sure if you can see, but it's actually cleaning it up. Just be careful because sometimes the alcohol flies out. After doing that, to loosen up the things like the dirt and the oils, we can actually clean it. And what I've got here is just a bit of paper towel that I've wound into kind of a bundle. What we do is we soak that with alcohol. Get that in a good spot. Just clean it. You can even hear it revving higher now, and look at all the gunk that came off of there. So that's really good. If you've got one where the dirt keeps reappearing, it's likely because somebody oiled it. Just keep cleaning it, it will come out. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to take something, probably want something a bit sharp, like a small nail or a tack or something, and you just want to clean the little spaces between each plates on the commutator, and this just makes sure that bits of the brushes, oils, etc. are cleaned out of there, because they can cause shorts and actually destroy the commutator. And also it's just good to have them nice and clean. So, and that's all of them. No dirt came out of this one. It had a pretty clean commutator. Now we get working on lubricating the unit. To lubricate the unit, we're going to take the trucks out, and that's a pretty simple process. You basically just want to get a flatheads. Oops, there was a coupler. Under this upper shell here, just pry it off. The plastic on this thing really does stretch, so you can, I mean, you want to be careful, obviously, but they're a little tougher than you might think. And once you get the plate off, just lift this out. Usually just slides off like that. And there's one of the trucks. Now once you reach this point, you have to get 2 pieces. On some locomotives there's another clip right here. And you just take that off. And there's usually, well, there's always, with these Athearns that actually have a transmission, there's a plate on the bottom, and you have to take that up and off, and then the whole thing comes apart. What you want to check for is dust and hair. This one actually appears to be quite clean, so yeah, I think all we have to do is maybe just add a bit of lubricant. Let's check it all for dust and hair, but it seems pretty good. The bearings are all clean. Yeah, this locomotive's in better condition than I was expecting. Quite nice. So we're going to oil each of the pivots that the gears turn around. You really don't need much, like just the tiniest amount. There's actually a bit of hair on that one. We'll take that off. And yeah, like you don't even need to put a drop on this thing. Like you just need to have the thinnest slick of oil, because if you put more oil, it's just going to put more resistance on the motor. So just having a bit of oil like that's perfect. These gearboxes on these even the older Athearns don't need very much lubricant because the plastic is so smooth, there's not that much resistance to begin with, and it's not a big deal. You know, these bearings could be lubricated, but I'm not going to lubricate them because I don't think this is conductive lubricant. I could be wrong, but they should be doing pretty well, even if they're high resistance. The last owner lubricated them, and the lubricant, this is very rare, but the lubricant actually still looks good, so it should be okay. And we'll just keep putting this all back together, each of the wheels where it's supposed to go. It's looking pretty good. Let's put those clips back on. One thing I always like to do, roll it on a surface, and if the top gear turns without putting any pressure on the gearbox, you know it's working pretty well. If it doesn't turn, there could be something caught in it that's causing it to be high resistance, but yeah, it should basically be freewheeling like that. Just repeat the process on the other one, and then we're going to lubricate the gear worms. Another thing, to access the gearbox on the front, you can maneuver around the lead for this light fixture, but what you can also do, if you just want it to be a bit easier, you can pull that out by prying up around this area, just gently wiggling it up with an upwards motion, and you should be good. Now that we're here, we can get inside this gearbox a bit easier, because it can be a bit tricky, especially with the amount of pressure you have to put on these things to get them to come out. Now that we've got both of our gearboxes cleaned and lubricated, we're going to start putting the whole unit back together, starting with putting the trucks in. I usually do this one at a time just to make it a little easier. Put that there, and in this case, since we removed the light fixture, we'll just pop that back into place. It should go in pretty easily. There we go. Actually, we don't want to put that in just yet. I forgot we need to put the gearbox back together first. Crap. To do this, I find the best way is to take something like a small dish of some kind, and you put a bit of oil in it. And then you also put some grease in it. And what you want to do here is you just want to get a good mixture of grease and oil. And what this does is the grease itself is already a little too thick in my opinion. So you mix it down with a little bit of oil, and it just makes it a little bit thinner and easier for the locomotive to send power through. So we're going to put this back together here. You also want to check these bearings. I've already checked them, but just slide them up, make sure there's no hair or anything caught in them. Usually hair doesn't make it this far, but you always just want to be sure. And then you take your grease and oil mixture, and you just put it over the teeth of the worm gear. Always check the little spaces of the worm gear as well, just to make sure that there is no dust or hair caught in them. Sometimes there is, but usually I find that stuff winds up getting tangled up in other lower parts of the locomotive, because that's where they're usually picked up. And that should be enough, just like that. With that, we just take our truck cover, lock it into place, and then once we took the light fixture out, we'll just pop it back in like so. And then we just do the same thing on the other side. Let's get those on. You just want to make sure these little tabs are in the right spots, like so. And I always just do a test. It should be quite low resistance. As you can see, this has no problems whatsoever. And we'll just do another test, just with a bit of power. And you can see it really seems to work quite well. So with that, we can put the shell back on it and take it for a test run. Well, I've got her set up on the track, and well, and as you can see, it's pretty smooth. It's still a little loud, but for probably a 30-40-year-old engine, it's definitely running quite well, I'd say. So yeah, now let's pick up some cars. Let's back up. Well, folks, that's going to be it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I certainly enjoyed fixing this thing up because we were able to turn an already good locomotive into an absolutely great locomotive, which can pull pretty decent consist, as you can see, which is going to be great for live streams and other events just like it. So thank you everyone for watching.